Hi guys, I'm just gonna make a quick video here. It's late and I don't want to make too much noise because I'm home with my family and they're all trying to sleep. And I am in my office with the door closed, but um apparently the wall between my office and our me and my wife's bedroom is thin. Sound seems to go through pretty easily. So um anyway, I am going to explain why I quit Bay and Bay in full. I was able to create way too much time on the runs I was doing to the point that it was crazy. Nobody, no driver with any company should be able to run as early as I was on runs, even if I was not properly sending messages and communicating. I have never, ever worked for a company that could ever let me get 24 hours ahead of time as much as I was doing and not have better um, plans in place to help their drivers if they're running early to get on to that next load. It is a truck driving company's job to get you from one load to the next without waiting if you have hours to run within the confines and limitations of your clock, running your 10 hours and 11, all that stuff. There's, you know, even with the way freight is running right now, I know we're in a freight recession. I get it, but the freight is out there for the companies. There's companies that are still running very regularly and are still not really getting too much slowed down. And when I'm able to show up to places 24 hours early multiple times, I only worked for Bay and Bay for 4 months. So how could I constantly create where I'm running early all the time? Like constantly, always running early. And then when I had dropping hooks, it was no big deal because I'd just go in, drop my trailer, you know, go go grab an empty and mob out. And most of the time they would have another load that I was going to in usually a reasonable amount of time, but not always. It just depended whether that fell on a weekend. And the other thing is, not only was I constantly running early and not able to get off of a load that I was running early to, it's one thing to sit. I get it. I've been doing this for 24 years. I know how things work, and it is very stupid on the company's part not to have more of what is the word I'm looking for? More of a support system out there for your drivers for when you're running early. And when you give so much time on runs, a driver can go pick up a load early. And when I'm sending my arrive and departs and they see that I picked it up early, are, are they not paying attention? And I can get to places early and send my messages saying I'm running early and send the PTA saying that I'm gonna be there, and I add a little bit of time. I either put like two hours or whatever after I get there. I usually give like an hour or two after I get there for when I'm gonna be ready and available, unless I saw that I knew I was gonna have to take a 10-hour break, and then I'd, put that. I would give them all the information. So there was no viable excuse other than they just didn't have the support structure out there for giving that much time on loads where I could run as early as I was running all the time, constantly. It's one thing to be able to run early every so often, yada, yada, yada. But when it's almost every friggin' load, when it's becoming almost every friggin' load you're on, that you're running early and then sitting, when you could be dropping off a load and getting on to the next one. Come on now. How many of you can agree that that is a little bit redonkulous? And then when I kind of got upset with my dispatcher and was telling her that this, you know, why can't you get me off this load, have me drop it off like in Salt Lake City? They have a drop yard over at the CR England yard. They rent the space to be able to go drop trailers or trucks or both for whatever reason, to be able to have them there where it's monitored by CR England security, and CR England has that in place for drivers to do that. So I know that there's usually a lot of Bay and Bay drivers in the Salt Lake City area because they have some regular customers there. So they couldn't have me go drop that load off at the Salt Lake City yard over right next to the CR England terminal in West Valley City and then get me onto another load when I got there to my to Costco 25 hours early. Seriously, I got there 25 hours early, and I just had to wait a couple hours for my dispatcher to get in, and I sent her a message. They're turning me away until tomorrow at 5 a.m. when my appointment time is. Do you have a plan to get me to get me onto my next load? And they couldn't do it. They told me I had to sit overnight all day long, all night into the next morning, go get unloaded, and then she said, "Well, you can't drop that early, but you can go pick up your next load early because it was a preloaded trailer." And technically, I wasn't really able to get that load an hour or two early, if I remember right. I was just, that was it. So it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't like I was able to go right over there and get it right away. Um, I had to wait on it a little bit. But how many times did you guys see me on my live feeds where I was sitting and I was saying that I was sitting and I had to wait to go deliver it, where it was a live load or live unload, and I had to wait on it. And they literally gave me all that time. I was company and I was originally hired as regional to be home every weekend. And from the get go, I stayed out a month at a time and came home about every 3 to 4 weeks for a couple of days, pretty much on the weekend, and then would go back out and I quickly um, wound up being OTR because my dispatcher asked if I would go anywhere, and I go, yeah, I'll go anywhere, and I don't care. I just want the miles. As long as I'm home on time and I'm getting the miles, I don't care. And so she put me on um, OTR, and then when I was sitting a lot, I was complaining a lot, and she suggested that I got the Illinois to Utah back and forth crap. And that was supposed to keep me more able to get the long loads between Utah and Illinois to be on that lane. So that was supposed to be the answer, but it wasn't because I still sat for 25 hours several times. So it's one thing when I have to stop and do a 34, and it was like they were creating time for me to stop at home all the time when I didn't need to be home that often when I'm trying to stay out there to make the good paycheck. And when they're building in all this extra time, I don't know if they thought they needed to go home that often when I wasn't telling them I needed to be home, that they were building it. I don't know. But I was calling places up early. Yeah, I was calling places up early, picking up my loads early, usually when I could. I picked up one load 24 hours early and delivered it. I was early running. Um, God, how early was I on that run? And I had to sit on it because I ran early. And once in a while, I get that happening to you, but almost every single friggin' load, when the load planners aren't thinking about, and they obviously weren't paying attention. And then when after I did that Costco load, and I kind of got a little upset with my dispatcher, sort of, not really. I'm not sure how much attitude I really gave her, but I was just like, you get you don't have a plan to get me off this? How many times do I gotta sit on these loads just because I'm running early? I run early on the runs because I do what I've been trained to do, what all truck drivers should do: call you ahead and see if your load is ready and go pick the thing up. It does, appointment times are just a guide, and that's what all you truck drivers should be doing. And no matter where you're working, no matter what company, they should be able to figure out who their runners are and adjust. And it was like they were treating all drivers exactly the same. They were treating me exactly the same as all their drivers who refuse to drive nights and will only drive days. Or if there's if it's snowing, they will park it. I'll drive through snow, rain, whatever. I'll stop and chain. I don't care. I will, and I don't stop a lot. I only I only really stop for my fuel stops, breaks that I have to take, and if I have to stop and pee on the side of the road real quick, I mean, whatever, you just stop real quick and take care of things. Sometimes you'll stop at a rest area and do that and actually go in and use a toilet. Sometimes you'll just stop and pee on the side of the road. I mean, and you try to be discreet about it. If you're a professional, you try to be discreet about it and not expose yourself like some truck drivers do. And you go hide between the nose of the trailer and the sleeper berth where you can't really get seen very well. So people can't figure out exactly what you're doing exactly. Usually they can figure it out, but anyway. Um, and then After that happened so many times, after 4 months of all this garbage, it's just like I had just had enough of sitting when I'm trying to run my butt off and stay moving. And I was being throttled by a company that wasn't able to keep me running. It, I gave them 4 months to figure out that I was a runner and would bust butt to try to get from point A to point B and wasn't messing around in between, and they couldn't figure it out. And I did notice that last week they were trying, but I had had enough. Um, no, they did not usually. Usually they would wait to give me my next load till after I delivered the other one. Um, Only when they were um dropping hooks did they sometimes stack them, but I was always running early on these things, extremely early. Um, so tomorrow I've got Enterprise coming to pick me up at my house. They're like 3 miles from my house. They're literally just down the street. They're gonna come pick me up around 8:30 tomorrow morning after right after my kids get to school, and they're gonna come get me, give me a ride over to the rental company. Whoops, sorry. Give me a ride over there, and then um, it's only 200 and something dollars to rent, but they have to do a security thing of $300, which I'll get back when I return the rental car. And my thing is, I'm trying to decide, should I have them run me back through the house right away so I can come back and get the rest of my stuff and just take the absolute bare minimum? Or should I bring everything that I want to bring and be a little more realistic about what I bring so that I'm not bringing as much stuff as I did, because I brought things that I never used. Like I brought my guitar because I thought I would practice my guitar. I only pulled it out once. So I think I'm just going to leave that here at the house. I've got 4 bags of brand new chains. Um, we're getting close to not even having to worry about chaining season anymore. We got like on another month or so until we get out, but it depends on where I go. I'm gonna predominantly supposed to be in the south. The lady told me I would be pretty much be mostly west of the Mississippi, or east of the Mississippi, sorry, east of the. They are paying for the car rental, but I have to keep my receipts and they will reimburse me. I don't know why they don't pay for the rental car from the get go, which was weird. So I did ask them several times. So, um, but they're supposed to get me reimbursed pretty much when I either like on that first paycheck or whatever. But I gotta keep my fuel receipts for whatever gas I get on the way out there, and they're they'll reimburse me probably on that. Yeah, I'm bringing my GPS, my CB, my fridge, bedding, which I'm trying to decide if I just want to bring my 2 pillows and my sleeping bag to start with until I get home. Um, I'm gonna try to keep it simple. Just bring the bare minimum. bring my gloves, obviously, my safety, one or two safety vests, and things like that, and try to keep it simple. I got the rental car, so I might as well bring what I can. My problem is, even though this he's telling me that the recruiter told me that I would have a safe place for my stuff, I'm just not sure where that is because when I went to school there back in February of 2000, we shared rooms with other drivers, and the room I shared, there was like seven of us in beds, and some of those were bunk beds, some of them weren't. And we had a bathroom in our room. They have their own rooms at Sierra England, and they've made changes, and I don't know what all the changes are. I walked through it. They changed the restaurant into more of a fast food style, go up there and order your food type thing, and then you get a tray, I think. It used to be like when I went there before, they gave you like a meal voucher a day. I I did send him my recruiter a text to ask him if the meals while I'm in orientation would be paid for or whatever, and he hasn't responded yet. So tomorrow's Monday. Maybe he'll get around to responding to that. I've got to go back and look at one of my emails because that information might be there because I got one of those emails that told me what to bring. And if I remember right, it was pretty much the standard of what you get whenever you go to any company. Um, Making sure I bring my right documents, my CDL, my social security card, my medical card, and stuff like that. You know, the basics, and making sure I bring clothes and X amount of food and clothes and stuff just for on the thing for when I get on the truck. So orientation will be 3 days. I should be in my own truck by Friday. So they have Peterbilt's, Freightliners, and um, Internationals. And I'm hoping I don't get a Peterbilt. I've never really cared for Peterbilts and Kenworths. The one I had at Bay and Bay was pretty nice. Um, it was all right. So, but I'm just more used to Freightliners because that's pretty much what I have driven when most of my career has been um, Freightliners of one kind or another. And when I first started out, I was driving Columbias. In the last few years, it's all been Cascadias, which the Cascadias are pretty nice. And the Kenworths at Bay and Bay were nice. They weren't those narrow cab with where you got the mirror stuck out and then where you got to open your door in order to back up. It was a 2024 T680. I mean, it was a Kenworth. It was nice, but um, it doesn't matter. I can drive whatever. I can adapt to whatever they give me. I can drive a manual. I can drive the automatic. It doesn't really matter that much. What matters to me is to keep on the move. And that's what I'm hoping with the drop and hook beer runs and running the lower 48. And I'm going to tell them I don't care. You don't have to keep me in the lower 48. I'll go wherever. I just want the miles and to stay running. I'm going to try to meet my dispatcher and talk to him about what happened to me with Bay and Bay and that I was sitting a lot because I was calling ahead, picking up loads early, and doing this. And I don't care what my recruiter told me. You can't go by what the recruiter tells you because they're going to tell you what you want to hear. I know this, and it doesn't matter of whether or not it's Sierra England or any other company. It's just whether or not they're going to keep me running and pay me. And I qualified for 66 cents a mile, and yeah, I'm sure that there are Bay and Bay drivers that are getting dispatched just fine, but I wasn't. And there's things I could have done. There's different things I could have done. I didn't have to just quit. I did just kind of quit because I was fed up with the sitting around and stuff like that. I could have asked for a different dispatcher. I could have asked if there was other load planners that I could use or something. I don't know if I can blame my dispatcher. I don't know um what the deal with Will was with that. I don't know what was going on. So I just know that I was running early and sitting between too many loads too often. There's no excuse to be running. Yeah, well, I'm bringing my CB and they'll have to um I might have them help me install it if I don't necessarily need them to help me install it. Hopefully all the hookups are there in a lot of the Cascadias, depending. Um, the CV goes right on the top of the dash, and the hookups are right there. And usually the antennas are already there, but I'm bringing my antennas and stuff just so I have them. We'll see. We'll see what happens when I get there. So I should be able to install a CB and whatnot. Usually you can. And then bringing the GPS, the CB, obviously my phone charger, my phone, my headset. Um, I've got a duffel bag full of already made up sets of clothes. They already put the pants, the underwear, socks, t-shirt, long sleeve shirt all together in a set, and I made like 5 or 6 sets, I think. And then bedding and stuff. CR England, I believe their main headquarters is CR England and or Salt Lake City at West Valley City. I think I forget. I know that I got more training terminals. I think there's one. I want to say something like Woodbridge in either New Jersey or Ohio or something, but I can't remember exactly. I mean, it's been 24 years, but I know that they got a couple other training facilities, but I think mainly they try. Oh, they use a CB radio. I have no idea. I'll find out in orientation, but I'm not really too worried about CB. CB is one of those things that I can't really harp on too much. CBs aren't really the thing that have caused drivers to be distracted driving. It is the cell phones that have been distracted driving. Drivers watching TV while going down the road on their phones, and drivers texting and stuff like that going down the road is the main big thing that they watch. And I don't know if Sierra England has cameras in their trucks or not, but I know Bay and Bay, they made this really big deal about their cameras in their truck. And I saw it go red once just because, maybe twice. I like never set it off. The When I did set it off, it was because I tried to shoot through an intersection to get to the other side, and the truck didn't like how fast I was coming up on a behind another vehicle when I was going through the intersection because I wanted to make sure I got through it, and it didn't like it, so it did go red then. But I mean, no big deal. I might have done it one other time, and that was it. Um, they kept telling us you could only touch your phone once or swipe once, and if you did it again, you would get in trouble or whatever, and you could lose your safety bonus and blah blah blah. I don't know. I was reaching up to my phone all the time after a while. I was really careful at first, and then after all, figured out this camera is a joke. It's not nearly as big of a deal as they made it out to be. When I was at Alan Ritchie, though, the thing talked to you. If you even looked at your phone, the dang thing. Um, yep, I will. I'll keep the rubber side down. But what was I saying? Um, lost my track of thought. Well, I'm gonna give her a try and see if they can keep me running. If that don't work, I'm probably just gonna say screw it and come home and work for a local company and do line haul because they have um I'll make just as good money if not better. So um yeah, David, the cameras that are in the truck, the ones that face out there and on you, they if you do stuff, yeah, if they try to catch you on your phone or if you're not wearing your seatbelt and stuff. I don't know. Alan Ritchie's was serious. If if you weren't wearing your seat, but if you didn't wear your seatbelt, it would say something. That was not something that I usually had a problem with because I've always been really good about putting my seatbelt on before I ever put the truck in gear. I usually don't drive around. If I'm in a parking lot, I might do it where I'm just driving around the lot. But if I'm actually getting into drive and go, my seatbelt's on, and I'm usually even putting my seatbelt on just instinctually. It's a habit for me to just throw my seatbelt on completely most of the time. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how things go. The biggest reason why I want actually charging my phone, so I had to figure out a fix and get my phone plugged in for a minute, get it charged back up. I had it plugged in when it died. I did, but apparently I have an outlet over there by my chair that doesn't work very well. The top part don't work very well. The other one runs the lamp over my chair, so I had to move over to the my desk over here under the lights. So yeah, but I was just getting ready right when it died to explain one of the reasons why I chose Sierra England. And a lot of you guys are going to think this is a stupid reason, but it is what it is. One of the biggest reasons why I want to go to CR England is because of that's where I first started out, and I had such a rough beginning. Um, and it wasn't because of CR England, at least not totally, is because I was a newbie and didn't know what I was doing back then, 24 years ago. And um, it's kind of like a redemption for me, even though I really don't need to do it. But I know CR England's an okay company. They're probably not the best company. I know that. But um, but I'm gonna go see what I can do there and see if I can make it work. And if that don't work, like I said, I am probably gonna come back and do something more local. I can do the over the road thing, but I also have little kids at home that want me home. And so my ex co-driver from Alan Ritchie has been making more money than me on consistently every week, and she is home every day and off on the weekends and just runs. She does easy stuff, and she's making better money than me trying to bust my butt over the road, and she's home all the time. So I do got kids at home, a wife and kids. It's not like I'm a single guy. And before I went to Bay and Bay, I was hauling mail. I was busting my butt driving most of the time team runs, just picking my loads up and driving. And so when you do that, you're used to just getting in and going and keeping the foot feed down. And I usually don't like using cruise control, but these companies are setting up their trucks so that you have to use cruise control in order to get the faster speed. So like at Bay and Bay, I noticed with cruise control you could do 68. Without cruise control, you could only go 66 usually. You could get it sometimes to go faster, but most of the time it seemed like if I was trying to just use the foot feed without the cruise control on, I couldn't go 68. So um, I was using the cruise control more often than I normally would. And it's whatever. But I know I knew when I told people on YouTube that I was wanted to go to CR England that um a lot of people would think I was being stupid and things like that. I know that, but you know what? I don't really care because you guys aren't you guys aren't mm, writing the checks to me. As long as they do good and fulfill their promises, we're gonna see. We're gonna see what happens. It's kind of an experiment and an adventure, and we'll see what happens. And if it don't work out, then I'll come home and I'm gonna go look for a local line haul position and um, be home every day and every weekend and be able to do things that I never had time to do before because I was always on the road. I was always on the go. And then when you do this over the road where you're gone a month at a time, then you really can't do much at all other than pay bills and come home and just barely spend time with family and your kids and stuff. So we'll see what happens at Sierra England to see if it works out, to see if they keep me going from one run to the next within reason. I'm not talking about busting my butt so hard that I am like trying to be sleep deprived or anything like that. No, that was when I was at Randy's, when I was doing the egg exempt miles, where I was trying to basically run constantly and not getting a lot of sleep and just getting little cat naps most of the time. And most of the time, I wasn't getting a full night's sleep and stuff, which led to me driving off to the road 5 years ago, a little over 5 years ago, probably 6 years now, is when I ran off the road and um, I just dozed off a little bit and drove off into the ditch when I was at Randy's because I was, you know, and when you're doing regular over the road, running your um, regular DOT clock, where you're actually running the clock, which at Randy's I was half most of the time I wasn't even on the stupid clock other than for a few hours in between when I was picking up in northern Iowa and going to Neosho, Missouri. Um, I would only be on the clock for a few hours in between and then clock back off when I was um, at one end or the other. And I was pretty much driving around indefinitely trying to run loads. And sometimes I was on the clock and sometimes I wasn't. And it was all legal, which was crazy. So I will never do that again. I will never take an ag exempt job again because that is just nuts and crazy. So, and running indefinitely like that is not good. But there is no excuse for not getting enough sleep and stuff when you're running a regular DOT clock. You stop when when you start your 10 off, you do what you got to do and make sure that you lay down and get some sleep. It is a discipline and you got to force yourself to lay down and get to sleep and not be staying up doing stupid stuff. So, most of the videos I did lately at Bay and Bay, when I did those edited videos, that was what a lot of those I was filming and editing while I was waiting on loads, while I was getting loaded or unloaded and stuff. I would do a lot of those cooking videos, you know, while I was playing the waiting game. Either, I mean, some of that stuff I did while I was getting loaded, and then I would edit it later. And depending on how long the video was, shorter videos won't take long to edit, but when you got the longer ones, um, it takes a lot longer to edit those because you got to think no matter however long of a video you make, it takes you got to watch that video repeatedly to check for things that you want to edit. And depending on how big of a deal you're making out of stuff, if you're doing really high quality editing, you're going to watch that video full length and you're going to watch it in parts and stuff. And so you're basically, by the time you upload your save and upload your video, you yourself have rewatched your video gazillions of times. And the longer that video is, the more you had to do it because the more you had to watch it. The shorter videos you did, like if you only do like a 5-10 minute video, those are easy to edit and they don't take a long time to edit usually. And there's usually not a lot of chopping out and stuff you got to do as much, so they're easier. But yeah, there we go. Now my messages are back on again. When I hit resume, when I got my phone turned back on, I guess it didn't turn on the live chat messages again and it just turned them back on. So I'm getting ready to go here and get some sleep. And in the morning, I'm going to go get that rental car after the girls get off to school. And I will be the rental guy company is gonna the Enterprise. I'm getting tired. Enterprise is gonna come and pick me up, take me over there, and I'm gonna get that rental car. My bank come back, and I'm gonna really decide. I'm gonna go by order of importance as to what stuff I absolutely need to have in order to get started, and what stuff I'm just gonna leave behind and come back for later. And I might have them send me through the house right away to come get that stuff, like my microwave and stuff like that. Because I'm definitely bringing the fridge, the GPS, bedding, my clothes, my air gauge, my hammer, my gloves, if I didn't already say that, my 50-foot air hose, which some of that stuff I can leave, like the air hose I might be able to leave behind for now. um, bring my tools, my little toolbox things, and my um, CB. I'll bring my CB radio and my antennas and the stuff for that. And I could probably just cook from my little Road Pro to Go lunchbox deal. Just bring cans of ravioli and Dinty Moore stews and things like that I could cook in there to get me by for a little while. But on the other hand, part of me has thought about just bringing everything and just dealing with the hassle that it might become if I bring everything I want to have on that truck. And so I don't know, that's a decision I'm going to be making tomorrow on the fly. And I'm torn between just bringing the bare minimum and bringing everything, because I don't know where I'm going to be putting my stuff during the first couple days of orientation before I get my truck. So, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm kind of on the fence about that. Part of me knows I should probably just bring the bare minimum just in case, because you never know what's going to happen and all that kind of stuff. So, but it is definitely going to be interesting to actually see the differences in how they're running now compared to what they were running, how they're running 24 years ago when I went there, and just to see the differences and stuff. So, anyway, I think I'm going to go get some sleep because I'm going to have a lot of hours to drive tomorrow, and I got to get up at 6 a.m. So, I better get some sleep. So, I'll talk to you guys on a live feed. I might do a live feed from the rental car um, along the way somewhere. Who knows? But eventually, I need to start doing edited videos. I got my camera all charged up. I've got my GoPro batteries need to get charged, and um, I need to decide what videos I'm gonna do next. And I got a lot of video ideas in my head of things I need, topics I need to do to help newbie truck drivers and stuff, and whatever. I am done with this live feed. I'm going to hop off here, get some sleep. Thanks, y'all, for coming by. Make sure you smash the like. Make sure you leave any comments or questions and that sort of thing. Thanks for coming by. For those of you catching this on the replay, thanks for coming by, and hit that subscribe, like, and um, comments, questions, all that stuff. Thanks, guys. Catch you next video, with whether that's a live feed or an edited video. Thanks, guys.